Hello, and welcome back to the Corrective Consciousness Podcast. This is episode 4. I am your host, Vyse and this is...
I am Lotus Prince.
And you are the only co-host for today.
Yeah, I feel awfully lonely.
Yeah, is it cold in the wastes of the internet where you hang out?
No, actually, if anything, the temperature has gone down remarkably since last week, but last week in New Jersey was awful. It was just like the upper 80s to 90 degrees just all the time, and it was really... It was partly the humidity that did it. It was pretty oppressive, but yesterday and today were in the 70s somewhere, and oh man, it felt so much better.
Well, we've been having these really bad thunderstorms and rainstorms in this area as of late.
Oh, speaking of which, on the way home, we missed it. I guess everyone should know we were at ConBravo in Hamilton, Ontario, in Canada this past weekend, and that was super fun. But the thing I want to point out is that we actually just missed awful rainstorms. I don't know about your area, but where I lived on the Saturday, we actually got a declaration of a state of emergency, and we got 6 or 7 inches of rain.
Yeah, in fact, there was some really bad damage in some of the southern states.
Baltimore got wrecked.
Yeah, my heart goes out to them. In fact, my brother's in-laws live in a city that got hit terribly.
Oof.
Their town literally had floods that carried away something like 200 cars.
Yeah, that's
killed
madness.
2 people, and it's awful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So my heart goes out to anybody who experienced that. If there was something bad that happened near you, my heart goes out to you on that. But yeah, we were going through some rough rainstorms on the way home. We
just
we didn't
on and
know
off.
it was...
We went through 3 or 4 or something insane like that.
Yeah, or I don't even know what the map looked like, so we could have been looping back into it. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
So,
and a lot of it was just kind of a lot of rain, but one of them was that particularly rough rain where you genuinely can't see and you might want to pull over, but those are usually, the harder it is, the more brief it is. So we were mostly in a straightaway for 120 miles or whatever, so we didn't really have much to worry about, but it's still scary to drive through.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was not the best driving weather, that's for sure.
No.
But having said that, I think we can actually segue into what we were doing this week in terms of video games, because we did a lot of playing of video games together this time.
Yeah.
So, and we played some interesting stuff.
Yeah, there was actual pieces of history there that I didn't think I'd see, but totally did, and it was awesome.
Yeah, we went to the console room, which had some neat stuff in it, including a deluxe cabinet of Rad Mobile.
Yes, that was freaking awesome. This is something that I didn't know about until I saw the Guru Larry video, but Rad Mobile, it's a pretty cool arcade game. You could play it at home, I assume, on an emulator. I don't know if it ever got a home release, but you wouldn't get the full experience, because it's one of those driving games where you sit in the driver's seat and you press a gas pedal, which is always just kind of cool to do. But the gimmick was that when you turn the wheel really hard, the whole thing you're sitting in tilts to the left and right as you turn left and right. So you kind of feel like you're really driving. And yeah, your car doesn't freaking tilt, but you're driving on roads that slope to ludicrous angles, 45 degrees. So it kind of makes sense in that regard. But what's particularly special about this game, I mean, special in retrospect, it wasn't really anything when the game was first out, but special now is that your little dangling, not hood ornaments, whatever you call it, those, how some people hang the air...
It was a rear view mirror ornament or something
that's what
like
it is.
that.
And it's a little doll of Sonic the Hedgehog, and that was the very first appearance of Sonic the Hedgehog ever, even before the Sonic the Hedgehog games. So there you go.
That was really awesome. And there were a lot of different kinds of games that Sega put out, all those super scalar games. They had deluxe versions of all those cabinets, like Space Harrier, Afterburner, Outrunner, a lot of those games had deluxe cabinets where it had the hydraulics like that.
Yeah,
and
it feels great.
Rad Mobile is an extension of those games, and it was a lot of fun to play. It's a hard game, and it's basically like Outrun, but with more of a racing component, I would say, because Outrun's more of a driving game than a racing game, is what they always say. But in this one, you actually have like different positions,
and not only,
against other racers.
And not only that, but I think Outrun. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that Outrun was a third-person game, and this one's in the first person.
Yeah, I was actually going to segue into that. It's meant to look more like a simulation than Outrun was. It's still not a simulation at all,
yeah,
but
no.
It has simulation elements. For instance, if you're driving at nighttime, you have to turn on your headlights.
Yep.
If it starts raining, you have to turn on your windshield wipers.
And all you have to do is press a button for those, but it's harder than it sounds because there's always something happening on screen, and you really, really have to pay attention, whether it's oncoming cars or sharp turns or like puddles in the water. It's actually really hard to look away even for a second to press one of those buttons, even though pressing a button's the easiest thing in the world. It's like you kind of never feel like now's a good time.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you're paying attention to what you're doing and you don't know where the buttons are. You know, you're playing for the first time.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And by the way, you had mentioned that the game's really hard. We both made it up to level 5, like round 5, because it's one of those games, kind of like Cruis'n USA or something, where
you have a time limit. A strict time limit.
Every time you hit a checkpoint, you just barely have a few seconds left, and you feel the pressure all the time. So you can crash your car and everything, but that won't cost you the race. It'll just cost you time. So mistakes will add up until you just lose a round. So you're always feeling that pressure. And we made it up to round 5, but we couldn't beat it. And then we looked at the game's little sort of instructions where it's advertising, like, oh, wow, you get to drive a car. And it says that there's 20 rounds. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. I don't know what that's supposed to be.
No, it was crazy. It was a tough game, for sure.
Yeah, it was really fun, but if we were playing this at an arcade where it was not set to free play, you know, we wouldn't have lasted even as long as we would have, or even as long as we did.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I liked it a lot, and I hope to play it again someday. But you don't really see those deluxe cabinets very often, and especially one of a less popular game than something like you know, Space Harry or something. So it was really cool to experience it with you know, you and our other friends, and it was just a good time. And I'm glad that they had that, and also other people were interested in it.
I almost never saw that machine not being used.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, it's almost like an amusement ride.
It kind of is. It's one of those little cars you put the quarter in and you like bounce back and forth, except it's a video game.
Well, it definitely has harsher angles than one of those, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's more of a ride, but...
well, yeah, it's not like a little kiddie thing, but it just kind of has that look almost before you start playing it. It just looks like one of those things.
Yeah, but it turns out to be really fun, and we even got some pictures of it, so I was happy about that.
Yeah, I actually posted, I don't know if have you posted yours yet?
No, I have not.
Okay, I put mine, at least of that particular game, up on my Twitter, so... If anyone's interested, if you could look at my little picture archive at Lotus Prince, I just have the little Rad Mobile up there. It just looks pretty rad. I mean, I swear to God, I did not do that on purpose. Yeah.
Well, that's very apt.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty rad indeed.
But I think the standout game that we loved playing the most was Windjammers, which...
that game is ridiculous.
Absolutely is a fan favorite nowadays. It's a cult favorite that was brought back into consciousness from like Jeff Gerstmann talking about it on the Giant Bombcast. But it really is worthy of the praise and attention it's gotten from a lot of classic gamers lately. For a long time, nobody paid any attention to that game. It's a Data East game that runs off of the Neo Geo AES cabinet. Or MVS cabinet, I'm sorry, and it's just a great game. It's like one of those cartridge games that Neo Geo was known for, that but it was one of the very few third-party games, of course, for the Neo Geo.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if the reason it didn't really pick up, or I should say take off, at the time it came out was, I'm wondering if it was it's a competitive sports game. It's NBA Jam was immensely popular, but I don't know how popular it was in the arcades. Because if you go to the arcade by yourself, are you going to play through the campaign of NBA Jam? My guess is it might have been like that with Windjammers.
I can speak to that.
Okay.
Actually, all those Midway games are insanely popular. They were at pretty much every diner, any truck stop. Like NBA Jam and NFL Blitz in particular were huge hits. They were huge hits. They sold tons of machines. That was just they sold a lot. So I don't think it was because of it being a sport, let's say. It's actually so just to give you an idea of what it is. It's kind of like, imagine playing volleyball, but with a frisbee instead, and the frisbee can bounce off walls. So it's kind of like playing Pong. You have these athletes that can grab the disc, but they can throw it and bank it off walls and stuff like that, and try to get it into a goal that you're defending as well.
Yeah, so, all you want to do is throw the disc past the other player, as you say, just like Pong.
I think most of the issue with it not being popular was, at the time, the Neo Geo was a huge fighting game powerhouse.
Yeah, yeah.
I would go as far as to say that over half of the games are fighting games. And
there's everything like that. That's where Fatal Fury was, Art of Fighting, Samurai Showdown, King of Fighters. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah, and there are tons of great fighters for it, and that's what was popular at the time, because Street Fighter 2 was exploding, and then later Mortal Kombat after that. But
I think they might have even had Last Blade too. The ones I mentioned.
Oh yeah,
because the fighting games I mentioned before are just the ones you've heard of. There are also the lesser known ones that are they've kind of fallen by the wayside, but they were still competent.
So there were some other types of games for the system, but they by and large weren't the ones that operators would put in there, because people would really gravitate towards the King of Fighters games, or the Fatal Fury games, or the Samurai Showdown games. So there are a few outliers in terms of genre. Let's say there's Baseball Stars. Those games are great.
Yeah, there's a few of those. Yeah.
There's Neo Turf Masters, which is actually a really great golf game. I'm not a big golf fan, but I love playing that game.
And then there's the Bust-A-Move. There's
Bust-A-Move, yeah.
There's those beat 'em ups, those Sengoku games.
Yeah. There are 3 of those. There's actually not that many beat 'em ups for the system. There's something like 5 or 6, and the Sengoku ones are actually the best ones, pretty much. There's a couple others that are okay, like Robo Warrior, and there's there's one featuring ninjas that's not all that great. I forget what it's called, but there's just a few outliers. There's also a couple games that are kind of like Bubble Bobble. You have this game called Zuntata, or Zupapa. I'm sorry. Zuntata is actually the music group that does all the music for Taito games. But anyway, Zupapa. There's also I think there's one other game, and there are only a handful of shmups too. There's only 5 shmups for the cabinet as well. So I think it's more of a sign of the times, and the fact that it's a third-party game as well. If Neo Geo had made it, it would probably be a lot more popular.
Sure.
But because Data East only made something like 3 or 4 games for the system, or for the arcade cabinet, and they weren't the ones that Data East is traditionally known for. All their big games are from before that, generally speaking.
Yeah, they have Karnov,
Chelnov, and Atomic Runner.
Yeah, I was going to mention Atomic Runner.
All their weird stuff that they, Heavy Barrel, Crude Dudes.
Yeah, Data East reminds me of Suda51 in that their games are all good, but they're all freaking weird, and that's kind of how you know what the company is. It's like Data East, oh, that company that makes the really just really bizarre games.
Yeah, most of their games were on their proprietary hardware, or were off on their own. So like when they got to Neo Geo stuff, they I don't think they just weren't as popular at the time. So Windjammers is a legitimately great game.
It's a blast. Again, I don't like I mentioned this a while back. I don't know if you'd really play it single player to beat the computer like you can, but
yeah, there's nothing to it.
Yeah, playing against a human is insanely fun. Like, it's great because as you throw the disc, you cannot move if you're holding the disc, so you just want to chuck it. And you can either just throw it, and you can pick a direction, or you could even curve it if you learn how to do that with, like, quarter circle toward, like fighting game moves. Or you can press the other throw button to lob it, which is great if the opponent is right at the net, so you can just throw it over their head, and with luck they will miss it.
You can also dash.
Yeah, well that's the thing. If you're not holding. If you're not holding the disc, then you can run around and you can press the regular throw button to sort of give yourself a dash. And if you happen to dash into the disc and not catch it, you might bounce it into the air. And when it's in the air, you can kind of like charge up your energy. And when the disc lands on you, you can just do like a super throw. And the thing is, as you throw the disc, first of all, if you wait and then throw the disc, you'll kind of do a very light throw. So you kind of want to catch the disc and mash the throw button to immediately get rid of it. And as you do that, the throws become faster and faster until it becomes an absolute frenzy. It's kind of like Pong, where the longer the game goes for, the more difficult it gets, and it's exhilarating.
It's a lot more, and it gets a lot of fun if you've had like an especially long melee.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like if you're playing real life tennis. If you're playing a single point that goes on for like 20 seconds, it's amazing.
It's so much fun, and not only that, but like people that don't play a lot of video games were also having a lot of fun with it. Like some of our friends that like a couple of the people that don't play a ton of games like that, we're really enjoying it.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, there's no real progression. Like, when you start the game, you've seen what it has to offer, so, like, you don't need to worry about, oh, I gotta play this for X number of hours to be good at it. I mean, you yourself said it's very easy to pick up, but it's difficult to master. Like, if you joined the tournament, you would lose, but if you want to just play with your friends, both of you can just pick it up immediately and go at it.
Yeah, and another good feature of the game is that there are a number of different courts that kind of mess with the dimensions of the court. Like, some of them are wider, some of them are thin.
And also one thing we neglected to mention is that there are different scoring areas in the game behind the player. So normally, in the most basic court, the upper and lower parts of the area behind you, like if you imagine a soccer field, the logic of Windjammers is that everything behind the player is the goal. But if you imagine a soccer field, there's the goal net and there's dead space to the left and right of it. That dead space might be worth 3 points if the disc hits it. But if it gets into the center area, in the red zone, then it's worth 5 points. But there are some stages where the gimmick is that the more it's more valuable to do it in the dead zones, and the centers are worth only 3. Or there might be stages where there are little nubs in the center of the net that add to the ricochet factor. If the disc goes in that direction, there's just more.
Yeah, and those are my favorite types of levels because they add a little bit of chaos to it.
Yeah, if a player's right at the net and chucks the disc, it's kind of like, see what happens. Good luck predicting where it's going to go so you can run over and catch it. It becomes just a real stress fest, but like the good kind of stress.
Yeah, and I like that it's a lot like air hockey in a way too.
In a way.
So I like all of this about it, and it's a great game. But one thing I have to mention, like we were just getting used to this original version of the game, but I've actually owned a doujin game, an indie game from Japan that was made by fans of this game, of all things.
Yeah, of Windjammers.
Yeah. There were fans of this game in Japan that wanted to see more of it and that never got any more of it. So they made their own like fan sequel
And it's amazing.
It's called Crazy Power Disc, and it's a lot more anime than this game, and like the characters have a lot more personality.
Yeah, in Windjammers, the characters
just like muscly dudes and girls.
Yeah, there's goofy stuff going on, but yeah, they're generally realistic looking people with goofy, radical 90s sunglasses.
Yeah, that they crush when they're like mad.
Yeah, that's my favorite. But yeah, in Crazy Power is perfect. They're all like anime characters, but the music has a lot more personality. The stages have more personality. And each character has... It's kind of like this in Windjammers, but it's more pronounced in Crazy Power Disc. But each character has their own special move that instead of Windjammers where the disc is over you and you have time to prepare to charge up your shot, instead, as you play Crazy Power Disc, you kind of build up a meter like it's a fighting game or something, and you can activate your super when you feel like it. And also, most notable... well, maybe that's the most notable, but maybe tied for most notable, is the fact that you can jump. So if the disc is launched into the air, you could potentially jump and catch it, which is really hard to do. Yeah, and you could spike it. And some people's super moves even come from being able to get it off in the air, which is fantastic.
Yeah, this is the perfect kind of fan sequel, because not only does it take the great foundation of an already great game, but it adds... even more depth to it, and does it without complicating it in a way that makes it not fun.
Actually, you know what? Next time I head over there, or when you come over here, if you put it on your laptop or something, we should actually record maybe like 20 minutes of it or something, because it is ridiculous, and people need to see this, because it's kind of hard. Like, you can find footage of it on YouTube, but there's not too much of it.
No, there's some footage of people playing it, but there's not really any explanation.
No, there's definitely
not really
nothing.
any commentary.
You'll see a super move and be like, what? And by the way, speaking of which, like Windjammers, some of the special moves you can do and some of the little techniques, like I mentioned, curving the disc in Windjammers, you just kind of discover yourself. So if you ever see something weird going on in Crazy Power Disc YouTube videos, it's kind of like, that's cool, but I have no idea what just happened. So an explanation would be nice.
Yeah, you basically have to learn how to play the game by accident, and none of the game tells you any of this stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of the beauty of it. Like, nowadays, we would be like, all right, I want to know, and look it up on GameBacks or something. But as an arcade game, it's kind of like playing Mortal Kombat in the arcades when we were kids, you know? Like, you were the cool kid if you knew how to do the special moves and the fatality. Like, Windjammers is kind of like that. In fact, that actually happened. Mr. Ryu 45 was like, I discovered how to curve the discs. So he's just throwing them these weird arcs. We're all like, oh, no, damn it, how'd you do it? It was great.
And that doesn't necessarily give you an advantage over anybody, because, like you could still deal with it.
Yeah, you could learn how to deal with it. You just can't necessarily replicate it yourself. Like, it's like, just because you know how to, like, I'm speaking from personal experience here. I learned how to do Raiden's teleport in Mortal Kombat. That did not help me.
But it's great, and also I'll have to say this, that the Dojin game is really hard to find online. I got a physical copy. I got a physical copy only because I went to a vendor at Otakon and picked it up physically, but you can't find this anywhere. I tried looking for Crazy Power Disc elsewhere, and it just doesn't exist. You can't even get many Dojin games on eBay, and you kind of it kind of forces you into piracy, but like, you can't even find a pirated copy.
I was just going to mention the absolute best I could do, and I didn't try and even see if it worked, but the best I can do was like a demo, and even then half the links were broken because they're from years ago.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the websites that used to host it have been derelict. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody keeps them up anymore, or Mega Upload links, because Mega Upload. Oh my god! Yeah,
Mega Upload was the most popular site ever. So now that all of its links are dead, you really notice.
Yeah, for sure. And this is even worse. So there's a sequel to that. So it's Crazy Power Disc Perfect.
Yeah, that's the one you have.
And it has extra character. I actually have them both.
Okay.
But, it has extra characters in it and extra other stuff.
It has Maguna.
Other quartz in it and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the perfect version of the game. It's great. There's also an unlockable character, and I don't know how to unlock him. And
I was just going to mention
no instructions anywhere online.
Yeah, I was just going to mention the campaign has a boss. Like in Windjammers, I think the character roster is just what you get.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of like later versions of Street Fighter 2, where you could play as M. Bison, but that means there's no secret boss to unlock. Like, only the original version of the game had, like, who's the boss? So, like, Windjammers was like that, as far as I know. Just the 6 characters you get are what you get. It's really more of a multiplayer thing.
For sure. And, so I was able to get Crazy Power Disc Perfect. Get this. So Disco Alucard, or Kurt Collada, the guy who runs Hardcore Gaming 101, which is a great website. It has tons of books and articles on everything.
Yeah, if you've ever Googled information for a game that no one's heard of and you found answers for your questions, it was probably on Hardcore Gaming 101.
Yeah, it's actually...
Even if you didn't know you were there, I'll bet you've been there at least once.
It's basically the best source of video game history on the internet, like in terms of articles and different versions of different games and everything.
Yeah, and he's been releasing books on just that kind of thing. Like he releases books of like various like games assorted by company.
Data East just now.
Yeah,
very topical.
Very apropos. Yeah, he actually released a Data East book like a couple days ago at the time of this recording, or like 5 days ago or whatever. But yeah, he goes into like you said, like details about various games, and then he'll go into which version's the best, and he'll provide screenshots that compare different versions. Like the research he does is ridiculous.
Yeah, and he just has a really great community of people that contribute to these articles. And I'm on the podcast for 47K Games, which is going on right now with the GC9X podcast that Hardcore Gaming 101 currently hosts. So I'm on there occasionally, and I used to contribute and used to be a mod there. Or I am a mod, but I'm not really active.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Kurt's a real life friend of mine, and he actually was able to order one of these Crazy Power Disc Perfects from a website that only shipped to other Japanese people.
Yeah.
And he had to get like a mediator like Tenso or something like that, Tenso.com. And I finally got it. And the game was expensive. It was like, for a Dojin game, paying $60, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I paid $60 for it. And I think it's worth even more now because you cannot even get a copy on that website anymore.
And by the way, just to clarify a couple of things. Number one, even then, I think a lot of the reason he was able to get this game is that he can read Japanese.
He can read it and type it.
Yeah, like he didn't just type the words in and then Google Translate them to Japanese or whatever. Like, he's legit. And also, just to clarify what you were saying by a mediator website, because, yeah, there are some Japanese websites that only ship to Japan, which, you know, it makes sense. You don't want to deal with all sorts of international hassle or whatever. So there are some websites that exist where you can pay them. Like, it's basically some guy. You can pay him to order the item for you, and then he will personally mail it to you and take a little bit of cash as a sort of like middleman fee. So that's how you can circumvent Japan only shipping to Japan. Like it's like if you it's like buying on eBay. You know, like some dude will just buy the item for you and mail it to you like from his house.
And keep in mind, this was all before Windjammers got popular again.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm sure the game that I have is worth way more to whoever even knows about it, because nobody knows about it. Mm-hmm. Like, even the Windjammers fans don't know about it. So,
well, yeah, because Windjammer fans, you know, we got Windjammers. You know, we never got Crazy Power Disc Perfect. You have to be specifically looking for that kind of thing to know about it.
Well, I'm not even sure, like, the current fans of it, even know about it. Like,
because it appeared and then disappeared and you can't get it anymore, so how could you know about it, I guess?
Well, like, it's just one of those things. There's not a really good resource for Dojin games in English. The best one is Hardcore Gaming 101, and there aren't many as it is. I mean, the problem is, like, a lot of Dojin games are either, like, hentai games or, like, they're RPGs, and most of them aren't the best anyway. So
that's the
lot
thing.
of people,
Dojin means like a Dojin game means basically a fan-made game. So quality varies. They don't have companies looking over their shoulder.
So there are very few that are worth playing outside of that. I mean, there are a couple really great visual novel. There are a lot of visual novels that are coming to America now officially. Like Steins Gate is a Dojin game, believe it or not. Games like that.
Yeah, and like the Katawa Shoujo as well, like basically the 4chan game, which was apparently really good.
Well, that was made by Americans, I believe, but
no, I think 4chan kind of like got it done.
Yeah, that's for sure. But most of these games are not action oriented, and the very few that are, there's a few that are really good. There's Crazy Power Disc Perfect. There's some good fighting games. Like the most famous one is probably Melty Blood.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, that even got a PS2 release.
There's also a few other ones here and there that are action games. Even Corpse Party counts as a Dojin game, I would say.
Corpse Party in its original form, absolutely. And then I think like a larger company, like I guess Team Grease just kind of got on it and released like the PSP, like blood covered.
Yeah. There's also one called Rosencruz Stilette. Well, there's actually a couple of those that is like... it's kind of like Mega Man, like a Mega Man game if it starred like Moe characters.
Didn't you pick that? I remember you picked up a couple games at an Otakon. Was that like one of them?
I believe I picked up the first one.
Because I remember you either got that or maybe even like a sort of... I forgot if it was Mega Man or if it was like Castlevania. Maybe it was just Mega Man.
So Rosencruz Stilette plays like Mega Man, but is themed like Castlevania. So it's pretty cool. So like there are like pentagrams all over the place and like werewolves and witches and stuff like that.
Sure. So I mean, I guess it's kind
of
like...
Other than the Moe aesthetic, I like everything about it except for that stuff.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the difference between shoot 'em ups and cute 'em ups. Like, are you playing as a plane and you're fighting other planes, or are you playing as a magical girl and blowing up whatever the hell,
Well, yeah, you can thank what are those games called? The
Opa Opa?
No, not Opa Opa.
Because that was like, I mean, you were a cute ship in that case, but...
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about the Dojin shmup games. What are those called? The ones that are really popular because they have like the witch girls. And
I know what you mean.
Toho games, yeah, I'm sorry. Those are probably the most famous Dojin games.
Even people in the West, like, who aren't super nerds, like, have maybe at least incidentally heard of those.
Yeah, because like shmup, it has crossover fans, right?
Yeah.
You have people that like that aesthetic, that like those games, and you also have people that like shmups that like them, and also people that like Japanese stuff in general.
Yeah.
They're insanely popular, especially
there's a lot
for a
of
Dojin
them.
game. And I think they're all made by one guy, or, maybe like 3 guys at the most.
Sure.
But anyway, these games are all really hard to get, like, especially if you want an official copy.
Yeah.
Because they're all released in physical form, and you can't, like, really order them. You buy them at, like, the comic book, their version of Comic-Con every single year. That's where you get them.
Yeah, there is kind of like... And I think there's also conventions specifically like for Dojin stuff, or at least sections within Comic-Con like stuff for Dojin stuff, and it has its own scene. Like in America, that isn't really so much the case. Like you don't really have like you might have someone you've heard of that makes all sorts of really cool art, but you don't necessarily have a group specifically for that. Like the closest thing I can think of is like Artist Alley at
it's definitely
conventions, but this is more like let's get a bunch of people who made Dojin games and have them all gather in a room and sell their stuff. Like we don't really have so much of that going on. Like with us, that might happen, but that wasn't necessarily planned that way.
Well, also keep in mind that PC gaming is not popular at all in Japan. It's definitely even more of a of a niche thing.
Sure.
So like only Dojin games are really played on PC, and then for a long time only Falcom games that like the Ease games.
Yeah, Ease.
Were pretty much the only PC games played over there for a long time, and even now it's a little bit better. They have like Steam over there, but it's not the same as it is over here.
Yeah,
it's mostly mobile games over there right now.
It's kind of funny because PC, now that we have Steam, it's like particularly big in America, and there's the whole quote PC master race thing going on. Like consoles are obviously gigantic here, but PC's a really big deal in America.
Well, even a lot of people that were like, console hardcore people, like I was for a really long time. I didn't even want to bother with PCs for the longest time, and now I'm like almost strictly PC, which is really funny because mostly because I want consistency.
Yeah, not to mention that a lot of games released today are also released on PC. Like, for example, during when we were growing up, Sega, Super Nintendo, N64, you'll almost never get those games on PC. So, like...
And PC games were their own thing. Like, they were point-and-click adventures. They were first-person shooters.
Like, you would get some crossover. Like, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles did actually have a PC release. But
much later.
Yeah. But like, in general, though, console stuff was on consoles, PC stuff was on PC. Now it's all kind of blending together, so you really only buy consoles for their exclusives instead of the other way around, where some of their stuff would not be exclusive. Now most of it is.
Well, we're in the age of like these really nice clients like Steam, GOG Galaxy, Origin, and Uplay. As much as you may think they're a pain, they keep all of your games updated and make sure that they work on the current system that you have them installed on.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's way better than it ever used to be, because you used to need to update your games, like, by hand. You used to go to their website and check to see every day whether they, like, updated it, and download the patch, and all that crap.
And before that, if there were ever something wrong, you would actually have to order in, and, like, they would mail you a patch, like, on a disc.
Yeah.
And that's if you even knew to do that, because there was no real proper internet. So, like, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you lost your box, good luck finding the phone number.
Oh my god, yeah.
That you needed to call. And you need to call long distance. They didn't have, like, toll-free numbers back then.
Yeah, I remember even the instruction booklets of some games would say, do you need a hint? You can call this hint line, and it's like $1 per minute. It's just like, Jesus. Like the calls would kill you.
Oh yeah, for sure. But what I'm getting back to is that like this stuff is extremely difficult to find, and I'm very thankful that I have it.
Mm-hmm.
The Crazy Power Disc Perfect is something that I want to share with everybody, so I definitely will be posting some videos of it, because especially of us playing it, because I think it's a lot of fun.
It's super cool, and it gets... it's a very simple game with mechanics you can discover as you go, but the premise is very simple. But the simplest games are the ones you can get the most heated over, like just playing Pac-Man. Like, people still play that today. It's the most basic game ever, but you can actually get into sort of like a frenzy playing Pac-Man, like getting all emotionally involved when you win or you lose.
You could say even maybe a Pac-Man fever.
Like driving me out of my mind, or however that goes.
Yeah.
God, I blew it. But yeah, it really is like that though. Like, the most basic games are the ones that you can keep coming back to. People talk about the AAA games. Oh, those are the ones worth playing because they're all involved and have a story. But sometimes you just want to play a game and beat the levels that it has, and then play until you die. Like Asteroids. You like Asteroids would be like maybe 50 cents if you were to buy it on your phone now, or like $1, but it's something where you could be like, I don't know, like in the middle of a thought, like you're like walking from one room to another. You know what? Let me play a quick round of Asteroids. The Crazy Power Disc Perfect is kind of like that, where you just play it real quick and then stop. Like, it's a lot of fun. So that in that way, it holds up.
I actually think it's a really big shame. By the way, that Dojin group has like disbanded and doesn't make anything anymore.
Oh,
so that's
no.
part of the reason why you can't get it anymore.
Ugh.
So I think they made it like years ago. It was at least 10 years ago. So one big thing about that is if if it were released today on Steam, people would go nuts.
Oh, they would flip.
And it because there's a lot of like games that are like that on Steam now, that are a lot of fun, like Towerfall or Nidhogg. Nidhogg is like a perfect example of what kind of game it is.
Oh yeah, it's super basic, but it's so fun.
Yeah, and anybody could play it. Has easy rules to understand, and the matches are really quick. They're real snappy. So like they're like, even Dive Kick is kind of like that. I don't know if you ever played Dive Kick, but
I've seen it. Yeah.
You know, it's like a non-complicated competitive game. You know, it's kind of like Super Dodgeball on the NES. It's a lot like those kinds of games. You know,
yeah.
Or Super Spike V-Ball is one of my favorites.
Or again, even Pong. Like, just play it, have fun for a few minutes, walk away. Like, and you can do that at any time.
And having said that, while you guys were playing, I was playing on the cabinet next to it, like in between matches.
Yes.
And I was playing 1945 Strikers, which is an awesome shooter by Psikio, or Psikio, which is a kind of a tribute and also ripoff of the 1942 series
the helicopter.
From Capcom. But
it's gorgeous.
It has its own charms, for sure. There's a little bit of sci-fi elements in the Capcom games, maybe more so in the later games. But in this one, it's like straight up the like you're fighting a like giant airships, and then they turn into mechs.
Yeah, like halfway through, like now they reveal their final form. It's like, what?
It was really great because the animation's gorgeous, and I had never really played this game. I have 1945 Strikers on my Vita. I have 1945 Strikers Plus, I think I have, and that was a PSP release. So that was really the only experience I really had with that series. And that's a port of the Neo Geo remake of that same game that I was playing. So I was playing the original version. So like I was playing like the game twice removed, and I didn't really like it that much. So I actually really like the original arcade game the best, and it is a gorgeous game. It's a lot of fun, and I was getting high scores left and right in it. I mean, I wasn't beating
destroying that board.
I was quick. You could definitely credit feed on it because it was on free play, but I forced myself to restart every single time. I did the one credit kind of thing, the run credit challenge.
You got your first game over.
And you know what? I got better and better at the game. I got through 4 levels on one credit, and I was doing really well. And I was playing by myself. Like 2-player would probably be a little easier, but I was really enjoying that, and I will definitely look into the other ports of that game to see whether I can play that a little bit more at home, because I was loving that. It's a really high quality shooter, and I'm a big shmup fan, and the ones that are mediocre just kind of piss me off. So I'm glad it was a good one for sure.
Absolutely.
Also, one more thing that I was playing there was actually on my 3DS. I actually have gotten the Monster Hunter bug.
Mr. Ryu 45 finally converted you.
Yeah, you know what? I tried once before to get into the Monster Hunter series because I know that it's good, because so many people play it and love it. There must be something to it that I didn't see, that kind of thing.
Well, my guess is what you didn't see is that you really need to know what you're doing when you play it, and the game does not make it up.
It's shitty at doing it.
And there's like 5 or 6 games at this point, so I think it's on purpose. It's either you should know or you should figure it out.
No, it was always like that, even in the beginning.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The fact that it's still like that now, I think it's on purpose.
Oh no, that's for sure. It's kind of like their charm. I guess they.
It's almost like the Souls games. It's like, try it out, see what happens.
Well, I think it's an intentional design decision in order to get people to be social with it. Like they want somebody to teach you how to play it. Rather because like you know how when you play a board game you hardly ever learn it by reading the rules. You kind of
there's always someone else who knows who tells you.
And it's way better to learn from somebody else explaining it to you than it is from the rules in the instruction manual.
Would you rather act it out and learn it in 5 minutes or read the 200-page instructions?
Well, the only big problem with and in Japan, I'm sure there's a lot of people willing to teach you, just on the side of the street that are playing it, because it's that popular of a game that people on the street will be playing it and would want you to play with them. But in America, you need to know somebody who knows how to play it, and you might not know anybody. It's very, very possible that you might not know anybody, especially in previous iterations of the game, because like the first one was for PS2.
Yep.
The second, there are a bunch of iterations on the PSP,
and then there was the Wii one, Try.
So I bought Try because I knew how good the PSP ones were, but I knew they were also a pain in the ass because of the controls are really bad on the PSP one because it doesn't have a right stick.
Yeah.
So like people would have like contorted hands from playing that game. Like they call it like the Monster Hunter claw.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, because like you have to like contort your hand to play it properly. Well, I wasn't gonna deal with that, so I waited until the Wii one, and I even bought 2 copies of the game. I bought one for a friend and one for me. And so we could both play it, and we were I had all the intention of playing through it, but I played a little bit, didn't really understand it, and then just kind of dropped off with it, and never really played it ever again. And now like the Wii servers are down for multiplayer, so there's no way that I can even play it with him if I wanted to.
Yeah, no.
But I thought about getting 4 Ultimate, which is the big 3DS one, which actually is probably the first popular version of the game in America, and I didn't get it until like 2 or 3 weeks ago, because there was a big sale on it right before the most recent one came out, the Generations. So I kind of played around with that one a little bit, but then Generations came out like the week after I bought the other one, and it was just like, it was kind of a waste of money, but kind of not, because it was super cheap because of the sale.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting on Generations. I played the demo with Mr. Ryu, and he taught me all the little idiosyncrasies and all the things that I need to do before battle and all that stuff. And once I played a bunch of it, I started getting it and started liking it a lot. And now I'm into playing some of the Gathering quests so I can, get better armor and that kind of thing. But it's not my usual type of game, because I'm definitely into story. I'm into games that have like a finite end to them. I'm sure Monster Hunter has like an ending cinematic or whatever once you beat like the big boss of it or whatever.
Yeah,
but
I remember the Wii one. There was definitely an end to the single player campaign, but like Monster Hunter never really ends. You always want to keep trying upgrading your equipment and doing better on fights and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Phantasy Star Online. There's a story, but
there's
whatever.
an end, but come on, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, it's like Diablo. Diablo has an end, but, like, you're not there for the story. The story's incidental, almost.
Yeah.
And so, like, I recognize that, and this isn't my usual type of game. I don't usually play multiplayer games to play multiplayer games. Even more so with competitive games. Like, I first of all, I can't keep up with the people that play it every single day. I have too busy of a schedule for that kind of thing. And I have I just can't keep up, and I also don't feel like I'm progressing at all. I'm sure multiplayer games are better about that nowadays, because I kind of fell out of that with Halo 2, and there's no real progression in that. But that's why they have like the progression and loadouts of multiplayer games now to keep you playing.
Yeah.
But it's just not my thing. I don't like the kinds of people that I usually run into with mics. They're all stupid usually. So, but I did absolutely love playing with you and Mr. Ryu with Peace Walker.
Oh,
I
yeah.
absolutely love that. That's a multiplayer game that I could get behind because, first of all, it's a multiplayer game with a story. It has a definitive end.
Yeah, and you can play multiplayer or single player. Multiplayer just means there's another dude in your mission, but the story doesn't change. So it's basically just you can play a multiplayer if you'd like, which is just kind
It's
of
a
fun.
it's a way better game multiplayer. It has similar elements to Monster Hunter.
In fact, it has a couple Monster Hunter levels.
Yes, and I really love that game, and I love running through that with you. So I was like, you know what, Monster Hunter might have something about it that I like, and I'm glad I stuck with it because I'm having a blast with it. And you know, it may not be my top tier kind of game, but I'm still having a good time, and I am getting that co-op experience with my friends that I like. You know, we turn on our phone app. We use a phone app to talk to each other while we're playing, and it's a good time.
Absolutely.
It's something that really I'm glad that I stuck through because I didn't initially like it. So those are the major things that I've been playing. I just started, as I promised, I did start Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Oh, nice.
Today. I didn't get super far in it, but man, is that game beautiful.
Yeah, it looks
already. We're the main characters are on a snowy mountain, and it looks freaking tastic. I'm playing the PC version, not the Xbox One version, and I'm really enjoying that so far. Have you played anything different, or have you progressed at all in your Muso?
A little bit, yeah. As far as One Piece Pirate Warriors 3 goes, I'm just about done with just about the last things there are to do. The Dream Mode, all I need to do is beat the final level, and then there are 2 DLC levels, and all of them have recommended level 100, and I don't need to be 100 to beat them. You know, typically, if you ever have to go fight bounties, for example, their recommended level, quote unquote, is 5 levels above what you are. But my problem is I'm level like 82 right now, so I will probably still get my ass kicked, but a little more leveling, and I could finally finish up Pirate Warriors 3. But as for what else I've been doing, I don't know, just because I kind of started Dungeon Keeper again, and that game is
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that game's freaking amazing. It's just
That's awesome.
It's so much fun.
That's a Bullfrog classic, right?
Yeah, it is. I got it on GOG, so it's just like old school DOS/Windows gaming, where you're basically just creating this underground dungeon and killing off people in other underground dungeons. And it's one of those rare games where you are just straight up and very obviously the bad guy, and you're just trying to kill all the good humans and corrupt everything around you. It's almost like I guess Overlord is almost a model or modern equivalent of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like that mixed with Pikmin almost.
I can kind of see that. Yeah, you grab your little dudes and tell them to do stuff, and they do it. Like, you don't get down there and fight yourself. In Overlord, you can just control your own character and have them fight.
Now, I know we played a bit of that game back in the day, back during our college days. But did you ever play any more into Overlord?
I have not played the Wii one. I have not played the Overlord 2. I have not played the DS one. But for Overlord 1, I beat the game and I got the good ending, which is the
one where you take over the world, I guess.
You're evil no matter what. But the good ending is like you get a bunch of loyal henchmen and stuff like that. The evil ending is you just like burn everything. It's basically the difference between having the humans pay fealty to you versus just murdering everybody. So I got the good, quote, ending.
Did you end up liking it enough to maybe play one of the sequels eventually?
I might, but it's one of those games where I used a guide the whole time just so I'd be able to get through it. Because if you lose all of your little goons, it's just a major pain in the ass. So I was just trying to... Like, there's no story really to spoil, so I was using a guide to just kind of go through the motions. A lot of people might not like that kind of play style, but whatever. Like, it's how I played the game, and I got through it, and it was pretty fun.
Nice. I've always wanted to play those games, but I just haven't had a chance to. You know, it's like it's one of those. I got it for Steam. I have One, I have the expansion Raising Hell.
Yeah, that's the one I have on. I played it on the PS3.
Oh, okay. And I have two. I don't have the Wii spin-off or the DS,
DS
spin-off.
one. Yeah, I don't have either of those. I do have two for PC, but I have not yet played it.
Gotcha. I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah, as with everything, there's a time.
Wasn't there a Dungeon Keeper 2?
Yes, and I also have that on GOG, but I've never played it. I've only seen my friend play it back when I was like in middle school, and I kind of knew what was going on. Like it was one of those cases where it was the same game, only different, where like some mechanics were changed. The Horned Reaper becomes like an invincible summon instead of just one of the creatures you can have.
I know that most Bullfrog sequels weren't very good. Like they changed them too much or not enough.
Yeah,
I
remember. Maybe I'll think differently if I play it, but I remember looking at it. It looked good, but not Dungeon Keeper 1 good.
Like most people don't like any of the Syndicate sequels, except for the last one was a really cool game, but it was a completely different type of game than
the FPS.
The FPS is actually a really good game,
yeah, the originals
especially in
were like
multiplayer.
Isometric.
Yeah, especially in multiplayer, the FPS one's really great. I hear that it has like one of the best multiplayer modes of any game ever, but nobody played it.
Yeah.
So it's a big shame. There's still a good loyal community that loves it, but it really didn't get the attention it deserved.
That's the thing. Like, if you didn't know Syndicate, then like, why are you gonna buy this? It's one of those. This is a major, I don't know about other countries, but this is a major American problem where the cover is just some dude with a gun, like every first-person shooter ever made, and it's just like, I just cannot bring myself to give a damn, and it's called Syndicate, which, if you don't know the series, it just sounds like a generic title. Like, want to play Syndicate? So, like, I didn't even know it was actually a successor to an old-style series. So, I passed it up, so like everybody else did.
And the funny thing is, the kind of game that the original Syndicate was, it was kind of like Fallout. Like it was one of those games that was really good and had like a really rich world and things like that. But it was also a very difficult game, and there was like a lot of nuance to everything, and you didn't necessarily know how to play it because it was so hard and had so many things that weren't explained well. Like the only other thing that I can think of that's kind of like that is like there are tons of old games like that. It's just like you're just trying to get through it, and like XCOM, the original XCOM, will just kick your ass.
But
like,
even the new one will.
Yeah, but the new one at least explains to you how to play it.
Yeah, okay.
The original game is just like, oh, you're here on planet, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like you'll die. And then you'll learn how to play it.
Yeah,
but back then, I guess you didn't get games as often as we do now, so people would just try to work through it until they got used to it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's just the thing. Yeah, back when we were kids, your mom would let you buy like a couple of games. Like you would own like 5 games on a console. Those were what you played. So if XCOM happened to be one of those, then you might as well learn to master it, because like, what else are you doing? And
you also had to worry about whether one of those games was going to be one of those crappy educational games, like Sesame Street. Oh my god!
Well, no, I was
Sesame
just going to
Street
say,
game.
like,
I was so freaking disappointed. Even though I liked Sesame Street when I was a kid, when I was like 4 or 5, I wanted Mario 3 or something.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, like, you were that poor bastard where like your mom was like, I finally got you that Mario game you wanted, and you're like, what? And it's like, Mario is missing. It's like, son of a bit. And like, that's the game you have. It's still a $50 game, so deal with it.
Yeah, it's just like, oh man, like I don't. That's like I don't. Like I'm a smart kid. I learned enough on my own. I don't need a game to teach me.
And that's the thing. This is all stuff you can Google. It's like, when was the London Bridge built? It's like, the thing with that is, it was educational, but you're not going to remember that stuff because it's too trivial to really be integrated into your everyday life.
I mean, there were good educational games.
How tall is the
back
Empire
then,
State Building? Like, whatever.
There were good educational games back then. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love stuff like Number Munchers on like the old Macintosh.
That was
Rita
basic
Rabbit
math that like actually exercised your ability to multiply, divide, and factor. But like trivial, like literally trivia, like that's not making you any smarter or more proficient at something.
like there are a couple good edutainment games from that back then, but like
there were a lot of good education games. Like there, like all of the Carmen Sandiego games.
Carmen Sandiego games were great. Like I had a Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego for my my Genesis a lot later on.
I might have had USA. Oh, you know what? Speaking of Genesis, the Magic School Bus games.
Yeah, and I also had Math Blaster 1
Math Blaster
for my PC.
I had Math Blaster 1 for PC. You know, I had the old copy, which came with, depending, like, it was at the cusp of when computers were getting newer, so my copy, I don't have it anymore, but my copy had the 5-inch floppies and the 3.5-inch floppies. Depending,
oh, wow, it came with both.
Yeah, so it's like whichever one works for your computer, you can use that one. It's like, wow. I also had, oh, by the way, I said Genesis, but the actual copies of the Magic School Bus I had were on PC. It was like the Space one and Inside Arnold's Body, which was freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, that's the best one.
Yeah. And there was also, what was the other one I had? Oh no. Oh yeah, the Super Solvers games. Those were freaking awesome. I had I think I had Treasure Cove and Gizmos and Gadgets is my favorite one.
My favorite edutainment game was The Incredible Machine, and I still love playing that.
I never had that one, but that one's cool. Oh, you know what? You know what I eventually ordered on eBay, just because I have nostalgia for it, because I played it at my cousin's house. The Incredible Adventures of Hyperman. Do you know that one?
Huh. I don't know that one.
Oh, it's rad. It actually had a cartoon series. It was one of the fewer edutainment science games. You know, usually they're math or English, like Mario teaches typing or something, but this was like science stuff. So it's like reflecting light puzzles and stuff like that. It was
neat.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I know there was a Bill Nye the Science Guy point-and-click adventure, but I could never do anything in it. It was really difficult for a kid.
That one I didn't even know existed, actually.
Yeah. It was a largely FMV-based game at the time, but I had a friend who had it, and I went over there to play it, and we couldn't figure it out. I bet you, like, even some things about it, like, I probably still couldn't figure out, because it was just a difficult game to figure out what it was getting at.
No, I know what you mean, yeah.
So, but like, what you had to do is you had to go through you had to go through this like big laboratory and pick up items, and you had to prove certain concepts.
Sure.
And like scientifically, and it was just difficult. Oh, let's just say that.
By the way, before I forget, did you ever play The Secret Island of Dr. Quandary?
No, but I know about those games.
That was a game that I never got any good at. I played it for like a couple minutes and didn't know what I was doing, but that was one of the games we had in our our third grade maybe school classroom, right up there with Number Munchers and Word Munchers. And by the way, speaking about how old school this is, when I was in the third grade, we had like a big we had two computers. One of them was like a big black and white monitor, and the other was a smaller color monitor. And I remember blowing my own mind when one day I tried putting Number Munchers in the color monitor, because I always played it on black and white. I just wondered if it would work.
They're green!
That was the thing. I wondered if it would work. And I'm like, oh, dude, like, it's not just the games in black and white on that computer. Like, the game has color, it just wasn't displaying it. Like, I can actually see what Number Munchers looks like in color. Like, that's awesome.
It was like The Giver all of a sudden.
Yeah, kind of. Like,
there's color.
The basic struggles are purple. What? It was awesome. Oh, you know what? One other thing before I forget, because I just remembered. There was also Eagle Eye Mysteries. Do you remember that one?
No.
Oh, those were kind of cool.
It was like an I Spy game, like you had to go and like pick out things.
You'd think so with a name like that, but it was more like solving mysteries, and you would go around the world like Carmen Sandiego style and get like historical information, but not stupid Mario is missing like geography trivia that you could Google. It's like stuff that pertains to some case, like the case of the missing item or whatever, and like they always had some name like that. It was like Nancy Drew book, the case of the. Like, it was like Sherlock Holmes, like the case of the speckled band or something like that. So you'd be going around and trying to find out like either who done it or where the item is. It was pretty cool. And I remember it was voice acted, and you could type in your own name for your character. And I was wondering if the game would read your name out loud. No, it does not, but it puts it in the word bubble. And I was like, cool, still kind of cool at least.
There was also in the same era as your Number Munchers and things like that. We used to have a computer, every every day we had something different. Like one day was art day, one day was gym day in elementary school, and one day was computer day.
That's cool.
And I always gravitated towards computers, obviously, and we had this really cool game I think it was in third grade, where you were assisted by this like little character named QWERTY. And but at the time, like I looked down at the keyboard and I was like, I get it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool actually.
But like
you were assisted by this one guy named the Quick Brown Fox jumps over the lazy dog.
But what the game was actually designed to do was teach you about taking care of your computer and other computer items.
That's cool.
So the game actually is like an adventure game where you need to solve all these puzzles to get through all these different rooms, and you need to make sure that the elements in these rooms don't destroy the discs. Like there would be like a magnetic field.
Oh wow!
Or you'd go through like a cold room and it would get brittle and break, or a hot room where it would like get burnt.
Or if it's Metal Gear Solid 1, your key card changes shape.
Well, it was kind of like that. It had similar elements to that, but there was like the medium path, there was an easy path, and then there was the hard path. And I was the only person in the class to try the hard path.
Nice.
And I got through that, and I had a lot of fun with that. I really enjoyed that. I could probably find out what game it was and kind of just like play through it. And that would be kind of cool, but I don't know. I haven't even tried to venture to even find out what the game was called.
And by the way, let me tell you how cool of a feeling it is when somebody on a forum goes like, hey guys, I'm looking for this one movie or this one game where the only thing I remember about it is that you're this kind of character and this is the kind of thing you do. It's really cool to...
Almost always you get somebody who finds it.
Well, that's the thing. It's really cool to be the person who answers the question
or the
person who gets the question answered. Like I mentioned this to you before. I was once able to answer the question, like where Digital Press was asking about a game where like the customer couldn't remember what it was, but you start off in like a freezy area and you have a robot friend, and I was like, Overblood?
I was gonna say Overblood.
Yeah, they were like, it's for the Dreamcast or the PS1 or something like that. I'm like, was somebody actually looking for Overblood by name? Really? It's like, yes.
Sir, do you remember something to the tune of Peepo?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Oh, then I have no idea what.
But no, like, but I kind of got that feeling. Like, I wasn't the guy who asked it in a forum, but Eagle Eye Mysteries, like, I saw it at a friend's house once, and I never saw it again. And all of a sudden, somebody on Twitter or whatever brought it up, and I was like, that's the game! Like, oh my god! Like, I saw screenshots of it, it was awesome.
Well, what's kind of cool is a lot of those edutainment games were actually brought to Steam.
Yeah.
Like stuff like A Credible Machine, I know is at least on GOG.
Yes.
But they're like there's a game called Manhole. I don't know if you ever heard of that Manhole.
I don't think so.
It's the predecessor to Myst.
Oh my god.
It's made by the same company, but it's like, I think it's black and white, and it's like, it's Alice in Wonderland themed.
Okay.
And that's on Steam.
Let's see how much deeper the manhole goes.
Exactly.
What?
And then there's also all of those games like Freddy the Fish and Pajama Sam.
Oh yeah, I couldn't believe they put I couldn't believe they brought those games. Those were not games that I grew up with, but I totally get it. Like a lot of people did, and
I didn't grow up with them either.
I've seen some playthroughs of some of those games, and they do look pretty cool. Like for when you're like a really little kid, like it's they weren't edutainment, but they were like really kiddie point and click adventures. So like it was pretty cool to see them, and it's really amazing that they actually got those up on Steam. Like that's a series I thought really just kind of wouldn't come back, because why would it? So it's cool to see that it has.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I wonder if they also have like not like Fozzie Bear, I think it's called, or am I confusing it with the Muppet? There was some kind of bear.
Fazbear.
Yeah, Freddy. Oh no, it was Fatty. Yeah, great. No, it was Fatty Bear. Fatty Bear. He was also one of those guys with like Putt Putt and Pajama Sam.
Yeah, I don't. That was kind of like, it was either before my time, like before I had a computer, and then I was too old to get anything like that once I had one. You know what I mean? We got our first PC in the house when I was like 12 years old. So like I was past the edutainment phase for sure.
I believe I was younger, but we didn't have the edutainment. Like I said, I got Treasure Cove like I guess eventually, but I think by that point it was more for curiosity because I remember playing it than like, let's get my kid an edutainment game, you know? Oh, by the way, I can't believe I forgot this one, but yes, this really is an edutainment game. Oregon Trail. I remember when I was in late middle school or maybe early high school, but I want to say late middle school, I'd also played Amazon Trail, which at the time I had no idea existed. I didn't know there were other trail games, and I actually beat that one. Oregon Trail I never beat, but Amazon Trail I wrecked after a while. It was great.
Well, see, the thing about the first Oregon Trail, it was kind of made to make you lose.
Yeah.
Like you're not really supposed to win because like the education in it was that, oh wait, no, this is a really difficult thing, and like a lot of people died doing this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people starved to death on the way, and like,
yeah, it was. I think it was the later games where whenever you would hit like a stop, they would give you like some incidental information about it, like, oh, this place was known for being a place where settlers would do such and such, and like Amazon Trail gave you like cultural information as well as you could take photos of animals flying by or plant growth, and they would give you little bits about those too. Oregon
that's
Trail,
the one
you just
where
hunted.
You're on bikes, right? You're on bikes in that one.
No, in Amazon, you're actually on a boat. You're going.
Oh, okay.
I forgot if it was up or down, but the Amazon River.
Yeah. Okay. There's also an African one.
Yeah, that's even that one. Like Amazon took me a while to realize existed. Africa took me even longer. Like just nobody talked about that one. I mean, then again, no one really did Amazon either. It just happened to be on my school's computer.